Good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Rebecca, would you please call the roll?
Flournoy.
Here.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Anderson. Rasmussen.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Thank you. Any additions, council, to this evening's agenda? Okay. If not, we'll move to our consent agenda. We have approval of minutes from the February 26th council meeting, approval of the March 9th payroll of $121,041.62, approval of the February finance report. We have approval of the USDA Step 1 debt in the amount of $12,975, approval of the CoBank interim financing debt of $478.08, approval of the Wayfinding Commission minutes, approval of liquor licenses for the Fairfield Country Club, Quality Quick Stop, Mike and Nikki's Steakhouse. We have a claims amount for approval of $1,170,628.38, of which we do have a large claim to PKG Contracting of $865,046.55. Any questions, council, regarding those consent agenda items? Not entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Thompson,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. Discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Thompson.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This council will move to our public appearances, and we have a request for use of the square, and that was from Moms Demand Action. Is Debbie Plum here?
No, actually, Debbie sent me an email. She's been called away to Arizona. Her mother's not doing very well at this point in time. But I've given copies of the email that was sent to me for the request of the square. Debbie is a school board member here in town, and there is great concern with gun safety in schools, and that's what their march is going to be about, or time on the square would be about. They would like to use the gazebo for speakers. This would be on March 24th, which is the day that nationally is scheduled for school walkouts or protests about gun safety. So that's their intention.
Okay, thank you. There isn't a time on the application? That they mention what time
She says it would be either 2 to 4 or 3 to 4 in the afternoon.
Okay.
And she was hoping maybe there would be somebody else from that committee that would be here tonight, but I didn't see anybody, so.
Well, I think it's fine to go ahead and put it before the council. We should put a time limit on it and put between 12.
Well, I would ask for the 2 to 4 time slot.
I
for her.
second that, I agree.
Okay.
2 to 4, they can decide which, if they want the whole time or not.
Right.
All right, so moved by Hamilton to approve the request, second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. And I think you're up again, Darren.
Yeah.
Kids Day.
Well, the Fairfield Kiwanis Club is looking forward in 6 months to having Kids Day. It doesn't seem like it's hardly possible that it's that close. 6 months sounds like a long ways away, but when you plan an event the size that Kids Day is, you have to start fairly early. We have come up with our parade theme this year of, let me make sure I get this absolutely correct. Don't want to have to come back and ask again.
There's Kate.
Kids Day theme this year would be Books Bring Dreams to Life.
Books bring dreams to life. Okay.
And the reasoning behind that is the Kiwanis Club has done some different donations to both the public library children's book programs that are going on, and also some adult programs that are going on at the library as well. And we kind of felt that it's been kind of fitting in with our theme this year of books and education and imagination that's spurred by reading. So we're looking forward to having that. The date would be September 15th, Saturday, September 15th, the third Saturday of the month. And we would like use of the square from Thursday prior to Saturday to put up our tent and get all the final arrangements made for filling the tent with all of our equipment, and then having the pancake feed from approximately 6 in the morning, 5:30, 6 a.m. until 1 in the afternoon.
Okay, thanks, Darren. And of course, that work that you'll be doing on Thursday and Friday leaves a lane of traffic open, so that's.
Yeah, you'll have
That's
a
just
lane of
parking
traffic go
spaces,
by
yep.
like you always do, over there on the east side of Court Street. And the parking spaces for use on Saturday morning for different events won't be put out until Friday night, late, about midnight is when I get at it.
Okay, all right, very good. Council, this is again one of the highlights of our year for sure, within the community, within the city, celebrating our kids, celebrating that next generation. So entertain a motion to approve the request by Kiwanis Kids Day to use the parade route, the Central Park, and setup date on the 13th.
Right.
Moved. Yeah. Moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Gandy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign.
And I will abstain as I'm a member of the Kiwanis Club.
Thank you. Next, Council, we'll move to our resolution, action items, and ordinances. And first, we have consideration of a sign replacement agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation for cities and counties. And I'm going to ask, Daryl is here. I'm sorry, I didn't see you there, Daryl. Good. Come on up.
This is a sign replacement program. Last one we did was in 2015, and the state gives a grant to cities and counties, a $10,000 grant to counties, $5,000 to cities. And what we have to do is to make a survey of all of our signs. We do that annually. We have what's called a simple signs program. We have a couple guys that do that. We've done that. So you have to have certain criteria there. And this sign resolution we have to have into the DOT before we can even order the sign. It's a reimbursement up to $5,000. The way I've got it figured, we're going to have almost $3,000 worth of signs that we can replace and keep up to date with our MUTCD.
No match is required.
Pardon me?
No match required.
No match required. Just we put up the money up front and they reimburse from our receipts.
Great. And can you use the whole $5,000 and buy other signs to replace? You need to just replace the
Certain
ones.
criteria that we have to do, and those that need to be replaced according to being high intensity prismatic, stop signs, yield signs. No, we can't use it for no parking signs. I wish we could, but we
Right.
can't. So the criteria that we have, I'm thinking it's going to be about $3,000.
Okay, very good. Council, entertain a motion then to approve the agreement and sign that to the DOT once you have your inventory done.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Gandy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign.
I'm going to abstain on this as well because of my employment by the Iowa Department of Transportation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Darrell. Okay. Next, Council, we have 3 items that were brought to us by the Public Safety Committee at our last meeting, and we'll be looking for approval for each of those. So, Michael, if you would start with the first one, the removing of parking along the north side of 500 block of Polk Avenue.
Yes, this came as a recommendation from police, streets, and city engineer as a way to improve traffic safety at Pence Elementary School. So by not allowing parking on the north side of Polk Avenue between 5th Street and 6th Street, it will allow the vehicles that are turning onto that street off of 6th more space, less congestion, and less places for pedestrians to potentially come out from behind. So we feel like this is a good step forward in increasing the safety in that area.
Okay, did you make a motion then to
Move
approve?
to remove parking along the north side of the 500 block of Polk Avenue.
Okay, moved by Hallie,
Second.
second by Thompson. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. Next would be the rollout.
Yeah, so additionally, it was recommended to add a rollout stop sign at the intersection of School Place and South 6th. If you notice, this resolution also cleans up some no longer used rollout stop sign areas that were along Lincoln Avenue, or Lincoln School. It's no longer Lincoln School. So we're cleaning that language up and taking them off of our list and adding this one location at School Place and South 6th. So I'll make a motion to authorize the rollout stop sign at that location.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Hallie, second by Gandy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay. Thank you. And we'll move on to long-term parking signs.
Yeah, this was something that was put in place in 2011, I believe, and has since become rather abused. It's not used the way it was initially considered. It was going to be a kind of a medium-term parking for people who live downtown, maybe while they're on a trip. It's turned into extremely long-term parking for vehicles that are owned by people who don't live downtown. And so in order to give better access to the public to use that, we recommend removing the 4 long-term parking signs from this municipal lot at the corner of North B and East Broadway.
Okay, motion by Hallie. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Hamilton?
So moved, in case I didn't say so.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I think that was enough. Enough of a recommendation. Any discussion? Okay, not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. Next, council, we'll move on to consideration of an engineering services agreement for the project of extending South Court Street, which is part of the Lincoln subdivision. So, Matt, if you could give us the background on this, please.
So what we have tonight is the extension of Court Street, which would be over off of Lincoln Avenue, which would be in between a couple of the duplexes and the quadplexes. It would be east of the Pilot Grove Savings Bank. What we've got is extending the street 500 feet north, as well as extending a water main to serve the new units that will be along there. We've got the design fee for $13,600, along with engineering during construction and construction observation for $17,400. We intend to put the plans on file at your May 15th meeting for the design of those two things. So everything would be lumped in as one project.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, any questions regarding the service agreement?
Total contract price?
Okay.
Sorry.
So, $31,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
31,000.
We had discussed at the Economic Development Committee meeting if we were going to front these funds before the development agreement was signed. Aaron, is that the plan, just to move things along?
What's probably going to end up happening is we'll end up paying this after the developer's agreement's going to get signed. The developer's agreement's been moving along quite well since that time. I have another meeting or a phone conversation with the attorney at Allers and Cooney tomorrow. Probably be pretty close to finalizing everything tomorrow. We had a bond conversation with Allers and Cooney and our Piper Jaffrey representative today. So everything is moving along well, and yeah, we should have everything pretty well wrapped up and taken care of.
And another way of asking that question, is this the time frame the developers were asking for in terms of us moving this along?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
From what I remember, the engineering services agreement was one item that we discussed pretty in depth at that meeting. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
No.
Okay, so entertain a motion and to approve the engineering services agreement.
So moved.
Moved by Hallie,
Second.
second by Hamilton. Discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Hallie?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, council is awarding the contract for West Tyler Extension, and we had a bid opening earlier this week.
Thursday.
Thursday, so
Yep.
if you could give us,
Sure. There was a lot of interest in the project. We had a total of 8 bids. The low bid was Hickey Contracting Corp. They're out of Keokuk, Iowa. They came in at $273,721.79. The high bid was $316,800. So it's a pretty good range of bids, and obviously everything in between. The second lowest was only $5,500 higher than Hickey. So that's a really competitive bid. We did hear from some contractors that there were not a ton of concrete projects out so far this spring. So I really think that came to your advantage as the competitive numbers that you saw. Some other things we did notice too is usually when we put our estimates together, we go back and look at last year's numbers we've had. Fairfield hasn't done an extension project that is a brand new street since Lincoln Street went in back in 2013. So that was really too far back to use any of those numbers for relevancy. And I think what happened is the lack of people, the lack of driveways, and the lack of utilities really makes the construction of Tyler Street that much faster. So the faster they can get it done, the more economical.
No
That's why you're
trees,
seeing
no-
such great numbers.
Yeah.
good.
Declared ground.
Matt, would you mind, because again, we had 8 contractors put a lot of work into these bids, and we always appreciate that and thank them for that. Would you read out all the companies that participated and their amounts?
Yes, obviously Hickey was the low. Drish Construction was number 2 at $279,265.29. DeLong Construction out of Washington was number 3 at $298,048.68. Phi Excavation out of Sperry was 4. They were at $298,620.40. DC Concrete and Construction out of Dowds, Iowa was 5th at $301,565.80. Wesley Barton Construction out of Mount Pleasant was 6th at $304,673.16. Higher Construction out of Muscatine was 7 at $306,033.21. And then Bob Brown Excavating was number 8 at $316,793.50.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, we thank all of those contractors for participating. So you're then making a recommendation that we accept the low bid?
I am, yes.
Okay.
And before we,
Sure.
Drish, you said Drish was number 2?
Correct,
Yeah.
And they're
yes,
within about 2.5%?
correct. Yep.
Isn't that something that, didn't we have some relationship on that, or maybe not for this kind of thing, where if they're within a certain percentage?
We do, and it's 2%.
2%, just 2%, okay.
Just a little over.
Okay. Well, that's fine, I couldn't remember what it was, I thought we had something. I'm not very good at math in my head anymore.
And actually, I think
None
it
of
might
us
be
are.
1%. I think it's 1% for formal bids and it's 2% for quotes. So I think that's what we looked, we actually looked that up Thursday
Okay,
after we
good.
opened bids because we knew it was pretty close.
Really close.
Yeah.
Well, and we do hear from some of those local contractors who participate, and
That's
when
great.
when they do miss a bid that is so close, it's very hard to say no, and we have to rely on our policy. So anyway, so we have a motion then to accept the low bid?
Yes. So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Hamilton, second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Hallie?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Matt, appreciate that. Okay, next, council, I'm going to ask our city administrator to report on a change in our personnel policy.
What we have in front of you is policy change for, actually it's comp time accrual. The lined out portions, it would be changed, and the red areas would be, I believe, are what's changed from the current policy. The red would become what the policy is now. The personnel policy or committee met a week or so ago.
That's
Remember
right,
that?
the 27th, I
The
believe. it was.
27th, and they were okay with the policy as presented in the packet, providing Mr. Morrissey was okay with the changes, which I contacted Mr. Morrissey, and he was okay with the changes as is presented on the board there. So it's cleaning up some things out of the personnel policy that we found that we're getting taken advantage of.
Okay, so we're specifying what a premium rate is to time and a half.
Yep.
And then the other is that time granted for sick leave, funeral leave, holidays, or vacation leave shall be construed as time worked
Actually,
in the
that will be-
compensated overtime.
that'll
That's
be-
being stricken
That's being stricken.
and
it's-
changed to something more general.
Correct. Any leave taken during a normal work shift or a scheduled work shift will not count towards overtime compensation. But any employee that is worked outside the normal scheduled hours would still receive
Right.
overtime.
Okay. Very good. Council, any questions? Or our Personnel Committee, any comments, additional comments? If not, entertain a motion to approve the amendment to the personnel policy.
So moved.
Moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Hamilton. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. Okay, next, council, will have our first reading of the amending of our municipal code regarding civil penalties. So being this the first time, I'll ask our city attorney, John Morrissey, to give us a general explanation about what is in the ordinance, what is not, and how it changes what we're doing now.
You're going to have two ordinances that you're talking about that are in tandem. One of them has to do with the way to handle traffic citations on a uniform citation process that should work very smoothly, somewhat like your parking ticket cafeteria thing. And Colin and Chief Dave Thomas were in last week kind of talking through how that could go into effect and probably be no inconvenience to anybody in the community to just have it work pretty smoothly right into transition. But to do that, you look at the first of the two ordinance changes here, and this is a more general change. Right now, your code, except for 2 or 3 places, for instance, at the back of your abandoned vehicle ordinance, there are some of these provisions allowing for civil infraction citation use. There's another one in one of your environmental things, either water or sewer, for something that's a violation there that you can use civil infraction procedure. But for a general penalty section and a general procedural section for use of civil infraction, you don't have it in your code. The league example code for cities has it right up front along with your general misdemeanor criminal penalties. So this is something that should find itself being used relatively quickly. I know that in a department like Scott Vaughn's that has a variety of things as far as inspections, different things that you have to do as far as permitting, different things that have to do with nuisances and so forth. Different parts of this 9.88 civil penalty group. This 4-page ordinance allows you not only to impose civil penalties up from $0 all the way up to $1,000 and kind of stagger them as the violations become second or third violations, but it also gives you what is called alternative remedies. And alternative remedies are the things that you, when you're doing a criminal misdemeanor citation and you're on your second or third or fourth offense and you're thinking, I wish I could figure out a way to just make this stop in its tracks. Well, there's alternative remedy provisions are exactly that. It gives you the ability to ask the court to impose either a prohibitive injunction or a mandatory injunction to make someone do something. It gives you the ability to have the court order that something be abated specifically nuisances, but also other things like dilapidated buildings that fit other categories as far as public safety concerns also. And it gives you also the ability, after you have that authority to mandate something, to go ahead and if the person that it is ordered against does not comply, you can actually have the city step in and do the job, turn around, certify what that cost, and then have it treated a couple ways. The court can enter a judgment against the defendant. The court can enter a judgment that becomes a lien against the defendant's property. You can enforce it through the usual civil procedures for collection in that process, or you can also have it assessed against the person, the owner's property taxes. So you've got a double whammy there. Plus, it's not just a double whammy as far as those particular alternative enforcement mechanisms, but you also have the ability to, at the same time, if you want to continue to get the person's attention, because sometimes the civil process, this is like a civil lawsuit that you're dealing with, take longer. You also have the ability at the same time to pursue day to day. If you want, every new day could be a new violation. You can also, you're not prohibited from also doing your criminal misdemeanor citations if you choose to do that. Now, I'm not advocating that you should overload, but the ability is there to really make a point if you want to. So 9.88 that you have as a general civil penalty section right now, what you're doing is taking a limited group of paragraphs that spells out a little bit with small reference to civil infraction, and you're turning it into 4 pages that explains all the civil penalty range you can impose, explains all of the procedures you need to follow to utilize the infraction mechanism, and all of these alternative remedies. It's right there. It'll become a part of your code section. It'll be something the magistrate can look at and can take jurisdiction. All of the towns that surround us right now have this out there because they have what I call the old league model codes, and this was just put in there as something that the towns would use. Actually, our code is much more sophisticated as far as a lot of the things that we built into it, and that's the reason some of these kind of alternate remedies are at the back end of rather lengthy ordinances on environmental, dilapidated structures, abandoned autos, and so forth, that we have 3 or 4 page ordinances on. But we should have it for the rest of what we could apply civil remedies to, and I believe that your various department heads will thank you for it. I think that Scott and the planning department will get a lot of use out of this, and I've put this out as an example to police department on situations like animal cases and so forth where you want something corrected. You can go there. There's probably a dozen or so things that come to my mind as far as things that we've run into in the past where we didn't necessarily have this. We either had to borrow from the state code or we had to analogize it to something else and use what we did have in our ordinance that was a little limited. So I'm encouraging you to do this. Once you have 9.88 in place, then we can talk about 988 and also Chapter 10, which is your traffic enforcement of hundreds of different types of traffic violations and vehicle violations, and how it will fit there in the mechanism that that department would like to use under civil infractioning. So they're going to call theirs municipal traffic infractions, right?
Yes, sir.
And that will be separating it a little bit because of the way that's handled. But the first thing I'm asking you to consider is 9.88.
Right.
Any questions?
Council, any questions?
Just want to bring your attention to the first box on the bottom of page 1. The first offense, initially there was a minimum of $50, and I talked to John Morrissey about that and agreed to just make it no base, no bottom price, but instead a maximum. And that enables city officials, the police or whoever, to choose an amount. It doesn't have to be the $40 that's been talked about in the press. It can be even less than that. So this allows us flexibility in terms of setting those fees. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments or any other questions? Okay. All right, before we proceed, we'll open the public hearing on the first reading of amending 9.88 civil penalty provisions. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to move this from the first to the second reading.
So moved.
Moved by Thompson,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. Any discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Thompson,
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll move on to the second portion that John was just referring to, and that's the enforcement action, correct?
Right, and essentially, this is a shorter ordinance, but it's very specific to Chapter 10.04, which has to do with a long stream of variety of traffic offenses and motor vehicle violations that are defined in the code. They have a general penalty provision at one point in there that has things about it as far as a criminal misdemeanor. What we're doing with this is we're saying that if the officer elects to do a civil notice of violation, it'll be somewhat like, we'll just pull this out of the air. You got a person parking in a handicap spot. I think that's $100 to $200 violation. So right now, we handle that with a trafficeria ticket, don't we?
Yes,
We
sir.
can put it on the person's windshield. They can go out to the law center and they can pay their fine if they don't want to dispute it. If they do want to dispute it, there's a mechanism where they can take it upstairs to the magistrate. But if they do that, they put themselves in a situation where they do something more than pay the ticket. They pay surcharge, they pay court costs. They've cost themselves about double the ticket is what it amounts to by the time they're done. This ordinance, with the officer making the election and handing the person the notice of violation, person gets a period of time under the ordinance, ordinarily under any other situation described in this, not more than 30 days. But if they act on it within 30 days and it's as simple as dropping it in the box or taking it to the law center to pay it, that's pretty much it. It's not going up to the magistrate. It's not incurring surcharge. It's not incurring court costs. The money is staying in the community, and it's not going up to DOT either. So the person's getting a buy, so to speak, as far as the effect on their license and their insurance that would otherwise be there with a violation that goes through the state code, through the state court system, and up to the DOT. So that is probably the very positive thing about this, as well as the fact that revenue from this kind of enforcement stays within the community. So I think that's been talked about and presented by Mr. Hallie and the chief in the past. I don't know if you want to add something as far as this, but the way I envision this, it can be just as smooth as the trafficeria parking ticket example with the way it's administered. And the officers, they still have the discretion to do warnings. They still have the discretion if they think the violation is something greater than what they are inclined to do with a civil traffic infraction citation, to go to a misdemeanor or to go to a state charge even, as far as that goes. So we just, and there are exceptions to this also that we mentioned as far as both the carve out here and any other civil infraction ordinance that you just went through the first reading on. So
I think you covered it very well. Mr. Hallie and I have had a few conversations in between about some just concerns with operations of the procedures of the actual ordinance on, because we want to be very fair and consistent by implementing this, and we've never had it in there. So there's been some questions that have come up that we've addressed. I'm happy to answer any questions. Mr. Morris, he covered it very well. We discussed before, it's just another option for the officers and the community for traffic enforcement.
Thank you, Chief. And at our last meeting, Lieutenant Smith also went through some of the specifics. So I think council has a pretty good understanding. It's a matter of public understanding. We're going to have 3 readings of this, so we'll continue to explain what it is that we're doing and how the options do really favor everyone in this situation. There are things that there isn't anything mandatory that we're putting in on this. We're putting in more flexibility.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. So we'll open the public hearing on this next revision of the ordinance 10.0402. Next, if there's any public comment. Not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing and move to the first reading. Ask for a recommendation to approve.
So
Move
moved.
to approve.
Moved by Gandy, second by Rasmussen. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Council, next we'll move to ordinance 1162, which is the third and final reading of our contractor barricade policy. I don't believe we've received any more feedback at City Hall. Any council members receive any feedback? Okay. I'll open the public hearing on the third and final reading and ask if there's any public comment. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve the contractor barricade policy from the third to the final reading.
So moved.
Moved by Hamilton.
Second.
Second by Thompson. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, motion passes 6-0. Ordinance 1163, which is the rezoning of 800 North 12th Street from A1 agricultural to R2 general business district. Again, council, this is bringing a piece of property into alignment with what is already there. We'll open the public hearing and if there's any public comment. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move to the third and final reading. Entertain a motion to
And
approve.
this is rezoning from agricultural
Yes.
district 1 to R2 general residence district rather
Yes.
than general business.
General residence, yeah, it is a
Yeah, okay.
residential district, yeah.
Because I thought I heard you say business earlier, so
I
I
don't
just
think
wanted
I did, but
to clarify that.
that's possible.
Well, anything's possible, I guess. I would move to pass this through the third and final reading.
Moved by Hamilton to approve.
Second.
Second by Thompson. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. The council, my board and committee appointments. We have 3 members of the Park and Rec Advisory Committee whose terms are expiring. I'd like to recommend reappointing Dr. Terry Cochran, Ron Mullen, and Terry Kness to the Park and Rec Advisory Board. Entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Moved by Rasmussen, second by Hallie. Discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. We'll move then to our committee reports. Property Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Property Committee met Tuesday evening, February 27th. All members were present. The chair, Katie Anderson, Darren Hamilton. Also, we were fortunate to have present City Administrator, Chief of Police. Fairfield resident had brought forward a concern in which the resident had suggested that the city nuisance ordinance be amended as it relates to outdoor residential lighting. We discussed the resident's concern, we discussed possible resolutions, and it was the consensus of the committee, and we appreciate the input of the administrator and chief of police. It was the consensus of the committee that it not vote to recommend any ordinance amendment and take no further action at the time of the meeting. The city administrator offered to contact the residents' neighbors and seek an informal resolution of the concern. And the meeting was adjourned.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you make that call, Aaron?
I did.
Okay.
The situation is a little bit tense between the two neighbors, so the neighbor didn't want to work too well with the other neighbor at this point, so there's not a lot we're gonna be able to do. But we'll continue to talk and see where we can go.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I think it was, obviously, we want to,
It was worth the effort.
I think it is,
felt,
yeah.
Coming out of the meeting,
Yeah.
that we have the administrator go over and see if he couldn't do some sort of brokering between the two neighbors. But it seemed about the only real viable solution, rather than trying to impose something on 10,000 people over one clear incident. So.
My observation is that the members present and the administrator and chief of police listened, and there was a lively discussion, and I think we came to at least some sort of understanding, at least at this point. The citizen is aware, the resident is aware there are further steps they may take if they choose to, but as far as the property committee is concerned, we felt it sensible not to take any further action at this point.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for your report. We'll move to Ways and Means Committee. Tom?
We met last Thursday. We had 2 items on the agenda, and as you can see from the minutes, we had the one is the downtown lighting, particularly around the square, and I think 2 lights also in front of the Civic Center, if I remember right. And also then we'd had some proposals, RFPs from Ideal Energy for some solar panels at 3 of the city departments, the fire, the airport, and in the streets building. And I think the important things I put in is anything that the Ways and Means talks about is how are we going to pay for this? And we do have roughly $250,000, give or take a little bit, in backfill monies that have not been budgeted. Roughly a third, and a third, not quite that amount. And it was the recommendation, because of that $250,000 that we have coming in, the lighting project would be in the neighborhood of $140,000 to $150,000. We got to narrow that down a little bit. There are some, but it's very close at that point. So we recommended that we give Aaron the authority to work with Alliant on that to develop a contract, something like that would come before the council for final approval. Again, using that would leave roughly $100,000, give or take again a little bit. And the proposals for the solar panels for those 3 departments, the RFPs that were submitted were a grand total of $87,000. But at the meeting, we determined that there was, for the airport, the original bid was for 3 meters, but there could only be 1. So that reduced the cost of that to approximately $14,000, down to $73,000. So the recommendation of the committee at that time was for the council to approve that project, bring it before the council with the final contracts. And but we do possibly have not a conflict, but a little kink we need to work out. The fire department, there's also county involvement there. And we need a little more time to work on that. And we thought that probably a meeting with the service agency would be appropriate.
Yeah, so Doug and Katie are members of the service agency. There probably isn't anything scheduled.
Haven't heard anything.
So it would be good to just try and get a meeting with them, give them the background of what we intend to do here. Whether we're going to pursue them sharing some cost with this addition is something that you can discuss with them. Beyond that, I think they need to at least be aware that this addition to the building is going to be, it has been approved by the city. Anyway, if you could contact the supervisors about that, or there's a coordinator for the service
Still
agency
Tammy?
meetings. Pardon me?
Is it still Tammy running that committee?
I am not sure who it is, to be honest with you. So
Who's on it
I'm
last
sure
year?
they'll know. And
It
then
was Tammy last year when
Probably is.
when I was involved.
if you could ask her if she would schedule a meeting, and because we are under deadlines with the company to meet
May 15th.
certain objectives. Yeah,
May 15th is the deadline for getting that
yeah.
project in place.
So we want to
And
move this through.
Switch thrown.
Pardon?
The switch has to be thrown by May 15th.
Yes.
Right.
Then the last part of that meeting, we also had the RFP on the Jordan Well approximately $300,000. But that was a purchase power agreement proposal. So we really would not have any, the city would not have any money up front in that. But we thought that should be referred to the water and sewer utilities because it would have a direct impact upon
Right.
what they're doing.
It's the larger project, and it really does align with their cash flow. There is significant savings in the project. I think it's something that they should look at very closely. The power purchase agreement is another form of borrowing, but the repayment is built into the energy savings. So I think it should be a positive project. But again, Doug, and I think that's actually
No, not anymore.
Martha.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, so
Yes, it's mine.
yeah, and that one is not on the deadline. So
It is not on the deadline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
good.
so that's fine. But are you going to go ahead and recommend approval of the other two projects so they can get those
Yes,
moving?
I'd like that we go ahead with the approval of those other two.
Just before we go to a vote, I just wanted to say a couple of things on the lighting project. I've been contacted by Dave Vollmer. We are moving forward to have their project manager is going to come down here and look at the project before he gives us final quotes. And as far as the solar project is, we did receive another bid. However, because of we received 2 RFPs. The second RFP was received an hour and 15 minutes after the deadline, so we weren't allowed to open that according to bidding laws and city policy. So that is why we had just the one RFP.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, and it's, again, because we appreciate the effort that people put in, particularly on projects like this, but there are guidelines, so. Go ahead, Tom, on the,
Okay,
Make a
so
motion
I'd make a
then to
motion
approve
that we do approve the two projects.
street department and the airport.
Mhm.
And I would second it.
Okay. Moved by Thompson, second by Rasmussen. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Thompson.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Hallie.
Abstain.
Gandy.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Michael, are you going to talk about the Soul Smart designation?
Sure. So this was something that I stumbled upon at one of the Iowa League of Cities conferences. It would have been late summer 2016. And just another one of these programs where they offer free assistance. It's funded by the U.S. Department of Energy with the goal of reducing what they call soft costs for solar installations. So this has to do with permitting and the permitting process. So they work with cities and counties to try to streamline those processes. The city of Fairfield really didn't have much in the way of permits because we have no building codes. So we got our points by making a page on our website that just has the limited amount of information that's needed. Essentially, if you're doing a roof-mounted solar system, there are no permits required in most situations. But if you're doing a ground mount, the city deals with those as an accessory structure, and there are some setback limitations, and a permit is required. A building permit is required for a ground mount. So we put that information on our website. We reviewed some planning and zoning recommendations. Now, if we wanted to go and get a better rating, right now we're bronze. If we wanted to get silver, we'd have to adopt those. What happened is I started working at Ideal Energy Solar and decided that I should not be working on this as a conflict of interest, making solar easy to install as a city councilman with my day job. So I had to pass it off to Rebecca, who has 1,000 things to do. So we settled on, we're going to get the bronze certification and feel good about that. And if anyone on the council besides myself would like to continue this work to see if we get to silver, they're welcome to, but I have to stay out of it, just I don't want any conflict of interest. But bronze certification, we're the 6th city in Iowa to get any sort of certification, so we are being a leader here. And it does seem to be the trend that cities are having more solar installed, and so it's good to have something on your book, so to speak. Our code still doesn't mention solar, I don't think, anywhere in it, which it would be good to update the zoning I think the recommendation was just to state that it's allowed in each zone, that it's allowed in. And I would love to push that next level, but I just can't do it. So
I think it's a perfect subject to come up in a comprehensive plan because you're looking out 20 years, and we're looking at hopefully entering into that sometime in the next year. So that would be a good time to start to have those discussions about how you can strengthen that. But the designation is, again, something I think that helps our city in terms of its attractiveness. 10 years ago when we began our 10-year strategic plan and published that and got a lot of notoriety from that, there was essentially a wave of development of solar in our community that has created several companies, and I think is probably enough to draw the attention of an organization like this, I would think. But we are happy to have received that. Thanks for your work on that, Michael.
one quick thing, though, the director did ask if we were interested in pursuing the next level designation. They would hold off on sending us our plaque. So I suppose we could take a straw poll if we're okay with them going ahead and sending our bronze designation if we feel good that that's the level we want to do, or for anyone. That's why I was offering. If anyone wants to push it to the next level to get silver, please stand up now. I'm not really expecting it, so if everyone's okay, we'll get the bronze and call it a day. All
Okay,
right,
thank
sounds
you.
good.
Okay, anything else, Aaron, from your side as far as administrative report?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Then if there isn't any other business for the council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Hamilton,
Second.
second by Gandy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Meeting adjourned.